All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. Boy, it has been back and forth, just like a pendulum swinging. It's hard to know exactly what is going on in the Nancy Guthrie case. And I am going to talk about some of the updates that we have seen. I've got one video, and we're going to go back in time and we're going to review a case from 1932 that this kind of is reminding a lot of people about the Lindbergh baby. And I am actually kind of excited to go through that. So, what has been happening since yesterday? Wow. In the night, I'm constantly thinking about this. In the night, I was going to kind of pull back a little bit from the kidnapper scenario. I'm thinking, okay, this is not kidnappers. This is obviously an inside job. And I was thinking, okay, not kidnappers, not kidnappers. And then lo and behold, Savannah Guthrie releases another video last night, and she's talking to the supposed abductors. And let me get that pulled up here and let's take a look at it, and then let's dive in to some thoughts. So this is going to be the latest one from last night.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
All right, so very short. Want to review a few things that I see right off the bat. Of course, the brother Cameron Guthrie is on the left. Savannah is in the middle. The sister is on the right. I am guessing that they're either in a safe house or a hotel. They are not at Annie's house any longer. And of course, they're holding each other's hands. And I saw this last night and I'm thinking, okay, they're obviously speaking to the kidnapper in air quotes, but the words that she's using, Savannah is using, are kind of strange. And I have to wonder if there isn't something that the kidnapper or writer of the notes wants her to include, because she's talking about celebrating with her mother. They look very downcrust. They look very sad. I think we all know kind of where this is going, which is horrible. There were, I believe, some deputies that had spoken with them, and they're in communication with the Guthries on a regular basis. I think that there's no way that this is going to end well, unfortunately, for Nancy Guthrie. At this point, we're really just wanting to get some resolution for the Guthrie siblings. So at this point, I swung back to, okay, this does look like a kidnapping. It looks like an abduction has happened. Going back and watching a lot of the FBI experts who have reported that this doesn't sound like a real kidnapping, that the notes and the way that this is happening and the kidnappers not reaching out to the family regularly has not gone like any kidnapping that they have ever seen in their careers. Okay. Again, like I mentioned yesterday, apparently kidnapping for ransom is a business, and there's a way that it's done. There is some honor among thieves in that whoever usually is going to take a hostage has done their homework. They're not going to target an 84-year-old woman who's on medication and has mobility issues. That's the last person they're going to get. They're going to reach out and try to get a younger person because they've got to feed this person. Nancy had medication. The whole idea behind kidnap for ransom in the business sense is that they're going to take a hostage. They're going to send a ransom note directly to the family, probably not law enforcement. They're going to send it directly to the family. There may or may not be negotiation, but there's a way for the family to contact the kidnappers through some way. Money is exchanged, and then the hostage is given back in good condition. And typically, you're not going to, abuse your hostage. And there's no way that this is cartel either, because cartel, they don't mess around. They're going to red rum whoever they have quickly and violently, and they will red rum in order to get a point across. So we know this isn't cartel, just from what I've been watching. So, watching this and hearing this, cry for, we understand, we are willing to pay. I'm thinking now, okay, now we're back to the kidnap thing. I know FBI has been saying that there's no way this is a kidnap, but people are wrong. People can be wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure I think we've all changed our minds a million times. This entire situation is very fluid. I do have to say that I think the FBI, who is, I'm sure, now leading this entire investigation, I think that they're doing a good job of now not leaking too much to the media, because everybody is second guessing. Everybody is second guessing. And I actually have to just put in a little bit of a jab, because I don't like this either. There are reports that the Pima County Sheriff was seen at the Tucson basketball game yesterday, Tucson College basketball game yesterday. And that's really not cool. I mean, there is a job to be done. How about we not go to a basketball game? So again, let's watch this one more time.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
So I believe that there is something written down below that that Savannah is reading off of, and I believe that the brother is looking down at it as well. I don't see Annie looking at a piece of paper. She's just kind of in her own agony at this point. Hearing from people that are on the ground, I've been watching JLR Investigates. He's on the ground, and we're going to be referring to him a lot in this video because he's right there, and he's been actually gathering some really good information. And actually, he just interviewed a neighbor of Annie's. The neighbors are frustrated because no one has seen Tommaso. The neighbors had actually seen Savannah and Annie, but no one, I guess, has seen Tommaso. The rumor is that Tommaso is not with the Guthrie siblings. So where is Tommaso? And I have to feel really bad for Annie. If she does not have any guilt knowledge of what has occurred, I feel really badly for her, because she's now most likely not only just lost her mother, but it's very possible that her husband is behind this entire tragedy. And so she's in agony, because she's probably thinking, if my husband has done this, and this is a scenario, this is just speculation, not accusing anybody, but if Annie is sitting there thinking my husband is behind this and he has hurt or harmed my mother, she is probably devastated and thinking, who have I been living with all this time? Who have I been married to all this time? And I can tell you from my own experience, you can be married to somebody for years and not know who they are at their core. It's surprising, but it happens all of the time. People are very duplicitous, and you just don't know. Again, I had kind of peeled back that it wasn't Tommaso after seeing this video and thinking, okay, this is a kidnapper situation. But ... last night watching JLR Investigates, he's streaming live right now, valuable. And he's actually given people approval to actually stream his footage right now. He was there last night, and after everybody had gone home, he ended up in front of Annie Guthrie's home. That Annie is the daughter, and she lives with her husband, Tommaso. JLR ended up in front of Annie's home, and it's dark. There's no lights. Nothing is going on. Everybody had kind of gone home for the evening, and he's still just kind of talking and hanging out with his fans and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, unmarked sheriff's cars show up in Annie Guthrie's home after it gets dark, and JLR Investigates could see lights flashing from inside the home and the garage. And Brian Enton is actually reporting this today as well. I have to think that there is some evidence that led the police or the FBI back to Annie Guthrie's home. And you have to do luminol in the dark. It's a fluorescent product, and they use luminol or blue star to lay down on surfaces with blood, BLOOD. I don't know if YouTube wants me to say that, but I'm going to say it. So it has to be done in the dark, and then after they spray the luminol on the bodily fluid on a surface, then you can shine a black light over it, and if it is human blood, then it will be fluorescent. So if they're in the garage where they had pulled Annie's car, they're taking pictures in the home, that immediately swung the pendulum back to, okay, this is an inside job and Tommaso is looking pretty bad. So literally within a 2-hour period last night, I had gone from, okay, this is Tommaso, to no, there really are kidnappers, back to, okay, this is Tommaso. And now with what's going on today, I have to go back to, this is probably the son-in-law who has done something, because JLR investigates being on scene. He's been photographing at Nancy Guthrie's home, and there have been a lot of sheriffs and FBI people there at Nancy Guthrie's home, and they've got sticks, and people are wondering what are they digging in. So I actually used to live in Phoenix, in the Cave Creek area north of Phoenix, and lived in a very desert rural area on an acreage. And when you live that far outside of town, what happens is you will be on a septic system for your water and your toilet. So you'll be on a septic system. You're not going to be connected to the city sewer system when you're in a rural desert area. And also, depending on how far out she is from Tucson, which it looks like she is, she's probably got water tanks. And this is big business. Water trucks are driving all over the valley, and they fill up your water, and that's the water that you use from the sink, your toilets, your showers, your washing machine. So looking at the manhole that they had taken off of the ground that they were digging in with the stick, that is not a septic system. A septic system is going to have like 3 green plastic covers in a row for the septic system. And that looked like a manhole. So that looked like a water tank. And it looked like the manhole is big enough to put a body inside. Obviously, they got enough evidence from Annie Guthrie's home last night, probably again testing with luminol at the home and taking pictures, that they're back at Nancy Guthrie's home. And they're probably thinking that there could be a body in one of the tanks. It's very obvious that they really are leaning toward Nancy Guthrie being near the home, disposed of near the home after she was red rummed. And they've already had dogs out there looking. They're probably looking for shallow graves, but right now it's looking like they're paying special attention to the water tank. And again, I've lived in a rural area outside Phoenix. It's very dry. There are homes. People like living in the desert landscape and in nature. And so it's very common to live off the grid. You have electricity, but you're not going to be on city gas. If you have gas for your home, you're having to bring in like a big tank, fill up a propane tank, or a septic system, which is its own little system to process all that, goodness. And then in this case, it looks like she's having to truck in water, and very, very common. I think I was on city water. I remember being on city water, but if we wanted to fill up our pool, actually, no, we were on a common well. We had a well for water, but some people will not have a well if there's no aquifer underneath the land that they can drill into. There's an entire science behind all this, but if there's no aquifer, then you will have a water tank, and you have to bring water in on trucks. We were on a well, and so everybody who put a pool in, we were in a new neighborhood north of Phoenix in a rural area, we would pay for the water trucks to come in and fill our pools, because there were 4 houses that we shared one well, and we didn't want to deplete the well. So we would truck in water. So I don't think that from what the drones are getting, I can say that it doesn't look like they're digging in a septic system. I've had several septic systems now, and the caps, the covers on those are too small for a body to go into, but the manhole cover of the water tank looked big enough. Just from what we were seeing from the drones, it did look big enough that you could easily put a body into that. And I just have to say that if whoever did this really put this woman, disposed of this woman in a water tank, that is cowardly. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And I do believe that the Guthrie siblings know that this is not going to end well. I have to go back to what my intuition was telling me yesterday, that I have to think that this whole ransom, like reaching out to the kidnappers, I feel like it's a ruse. I feel like the Guthrie siblings are in cahoots with this ruse, and I think that maybe they're playing this role of talking to the kidnappers to keep whoever did this calm and not fleeing. I do think it's a red herring. I do think it's on purpose. I believe that at this point, if this is an inside job and was done by whoever, the son-in-law or whoever did this, I think that the Guthries already know who the FBI is looking at, and I think that they're going along with these messages to the kidnapper as a ruse. And that is just what my gut is telling me. We don't know if Annie is involved. And that's kind of like the big question now, is like, what does Annie know? You know, they say that they went to dinner. They went to dinner. Nancy took an Uber from her home to Annie Guthrie's home, and they have confirmed that because they've spoken with the Uber driver. So Annie had an Uber come get her mom. It's probably on Annie's account. Nancy shows up at Annie's house, and then they supposedly go for dinner. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody talk about a receipt from dinner, but honestly, you know, and we don't know a lot of information, so this might come out, and this is just speculation, but we don't even know if they went to dinner. You know, did they really go to dinner? What happened? Did they go to dinner? I mentioned this yesterday. Was there an argument? Was there a request for money? You know, we need money. Can you loan us money? Nancy could have gotten upset if Annie and Tommaso have asked for money in the past, or borrowed money, not paid it back. I mean, it's endless what could have happened, but I mean, there could have been an argument that happened. They supposedly bring Nancy back to the house, and they know that there's a time because the garage door is opened and shut. So, you know, there's a lot that could have happened though. I mean, did somebody stay in the house? Was this part of the whole plan? Is it a cover up? We just don't know if Annie has any guilt knowledge. And at this point, I'm thinking that she doesn't, because she is still in these videos with her sister Savannah. But again, Savannah is very intelligent. Savannah was an attorney. She was on court TV. People don't realize she's not just a host on the Today Show, but she actually was an attorney and was on court TV. So is Savannah part of an even bigger ruse, being embedded with her sister to listen and learn and hear if the sister slips up or says anything, or if Tommaso reaches out to her? So there's kind of an embedded person. And I think that between sisters, if Annie does have any guilt knowledge, I think that Savannah is probably the best person that could get that information out of Annie. So I do think that there's a ruse, but how deep is the ruse? Is Savannah in on a ruse to reaching out to the kidnappers to do a red herring and keep the actual I don't want to, what word should I say, unaliver the actual person who abducted Nancy? to keep them calm and thinking that nobody's really looking at that person. And is Savannah doing a ruse, being embedded with her sister? So how complicated really is this? And again, going back, last night, I'm thinking, okay, it's the son-in-law. And then I see this video and it's like, no, it's actually real kidnap situation. And now today I'm going back to the son-in-law. I don't think that there are kidnappers. I don't think that there's a ransom to be paid. If anything, I think that if there were notes that were sent to KOLD in Tucson and TMZ, honestly, I think that they were probably submitted by the actual abductor using good grammar. The abductor, if it is Tommaso, he is a school teacher and probably is obviously well educated and has good grammar. So, I mean, people do weird things when you feel like the microscope is on you. And I think everybody is feeling like this is an accident that just went wrong. I have to think that you do weird things and you could scramble, you could freak out. Let's see, we've got a comment here. We've got one from MLK Junior Day Portland. Hello, how are you today? Thank you for joining. This is just like a movie, and every day. Yes, it is like a movie. There's a new chapter to the movie. And like I said, I really think these ransom notes came a little too late. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think, yeah. And you know what? I completely agree with you. I feel like this is the abductor who started freaking out, probably disposed of the body on Nancy's property. They're checking the water tank right now. So, I mean, if they're waiting for a coroner, if they found anything, they're not going to move the body until a coroner gets there, or a crime scene forensics team first before the coroner is brought in. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. As I mentioned, they were at Annie Guthrie's house last night, and they were probably testing for luminol at the home, inside and in the garage. So, all right, we got some more from MLK. I love it. That's right. What you're saying is the truth. I think we're focusing on the ransom notes too much. I really do think it's a distraction. Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. This guy is Italian. And the Olympics are over in Italy, and that's where Savannah's supposed to be. And I think it's interesting. This all happened one day before Savannah was supposed to go. I have thought about that, because if this is not, okay, let's say this is not the brother-in-law. If this is a professional situation and there is a link to the Olympics, somebody is doing something, that would absolutely track and make sense. I don't know that we're going to find that out, obviously, until this whole thing unfolds. I absolutely do think that is definitely still in play. My only thing that makes me think that may not be is that every FBI person that has been interviewed on this has mentioned that the way that the ransom notes have come in, no way of communicating the abductors at all, and the 2 deadlines is not going like any kidnap for ransom scene that they had ever seen in their entire careers. And I would think that if this was something to do with the connection with the Olympics or Italy or something like that, and this is a professional deal, that it would have been done more professionally. And I use that loosely because, the formula for kidnap for ransom, again, is target the person, abduct the person, keep the person safe, get the money, drop the person off somewhere on a corner, and drive away and leave their lives. So I don't know. And I think that that's absolutely still on the table. I think you're right into leaving that. I do think that is still on the table for sure. So what I wanted to do was, because I mean, this is part of what people are really paying attention to right now is, I don't want to say this is a crime of a century, because we just don't see this type of abduction. The last time there were abductions like this, I think in the 70s, there's a rich family that the grandson was abducted and the grandfather was really rich and would not pay. And they sent his ear back to the grandfather. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about for people who are younger, and I mean, I wasn't alive back then, but let me remove this one. Let me pull this up. Let me share this. The Lindbergh baby. So if you are young and you are not familiar with the Lindbergh baby, if you hear people go, this is like the Lindbergh baby. So I thought, well, let's do a little history lesson and let's go through the Lindbergh baby, because even if you've heard of it, you may not know the details. So Lindbergh, Charles Lindbergh, he was actually a famous pilot. And this is in 1932. Charles Lindbergh lived in New Jersey, and I'll just start reading from Wikipedia. On March 1st, 1932, Charles Augustus Lindbergh Jr., born June 22nd, 1930, the 20-month-old son of Colonel Charles Lindbergh and his wife, aviator and author Anne Morrow Lindbergh, was murdered after being abducted from his crib in the upper floor of the Lindbergh's home, Highfields, in East Amwell, New Jersey, United States. On May 12th, of 1932, the child's corpse was discovered by a truck driver by the side of a nearby road in adjacent Hopewell Township. In September 1934, a German immigrant carpenter named Bruno Richard Hauptmann was arrested for the crime. After a trial that lasted from January 2nd to February 13th, 1935, he was found guilty of first-degree red rum and sentenced to red rum. Despite his conviction, Hauptmann continued to profess his innocence, but all appeals failed, and he was red-rummed in an electric chair at the New Jersey State Prison on April 3rd, 1936. So there was a bit of a mystery after all of this on if he really did red rum the Lindbergh baby. And there were a lot of people who thought that perhaps Charles Lindbergh or the mother of the baby had red rummed or unalived the baby by accident and did a cover up or something along those lines, because apparently I think the nannies at the time were reporting that I think that the parents were rough with the child, or maybe the mother was unwell. I'm not exactly sure, but I've seen a documentary about it, and there were a lot of rumors thinking that it was either one of the parents who did this to the Lindbergh baby. So I thought it'd be fun to just kind of share this from Wikipedia. And here's a picture of the baby. Chaz is short for Charles. And so when people are talking about the Lindbergh baby, this is what happened in 1932. And it was just, even though that felt like they had somebody and they arrested them and there was justice done, there was still quite a bit of wonder if it wasn't really done by the parents. Again, and there was a ransom for this. There was a note. Let's see. I think their note is right here. Let me read that. This is very interesting. So the search of the home and its surrounding area was conducted by police from nearby Hopewell Borough in coordination with the New Jersey State Police. After midnight, a fingerprint expert examined the ransom note and ladder. No usable fingerprints or footprints were found, leading experts to conclude that the kidnapper wore gloves and had some type of cloth on the soles of their shoes. No adult fingerprints were found in the baby's room, including in areas witnesses admitted to touching, such as the window, but the baby's fingerprints were not found. The brief handwritten ransom note had many spelling and grammar irregularities. Dear sir, have $50,000 ready, $25,000 in $20 bills, $15,000 in $10 bills, and looks like $10,000 in $5 bills. After 2 to 4 days, we will inform you were where to deliver the money. We warn you for making anything public or for notify the police. The child is in good care. Indication for all letters are signatures and 3 holes. I'm not sure exactly. It's not good grammar. So I think that they did pay the ransom, but the baby was found months later and it had been unalived. So again, the ransom notes are very interesting, but I don't know. I still don't exactly know if there is a real ransom situation going on. And I've actually done a couple polls on my channel asking people a couple questions like, do you think that this is a real kidnapper, or do you think this is an inside job by a family member? I've asked one also because Ashley Banfield has been catching a lot of heat because she, by day 2, day 3, Ashley Banfield was saying what her inside source, who she's saying is a well-placed, respectable law enforcement person, was claiming to that it was the prime suspect was Tommaso. And again, by seeing what they've been doing at Annie Guthrie's house last night, I have to think that that is true, that they are still leaning toward that. But again, it's just the whole thing's really confusing. I think that there are a lot of red herrings. I think that the Guthries doing these videos are trying to divert away from the abductor and trying to keep them calm. So that is for sure one thing that I'm thinking. Let me look. Let me see if I can share this. JLR, looks like there's some movement. I'm gonna share his. I'm gonna share JLR investigates. Let me turn on the sound. Let me know if you guys can hear this. You cannot hear this.
What are sheriffs up here for?
It looks like some sheriffs just came back to Nancy's house, and there are
2 sheriffs have arrived on the top of the hill.
there are drones over Nancy's house. This is happening right now. This is live.
Maybe, they're at somebody's house. They're at somebody's house.
Let me make this bigger.
See, you never know. Look. Going in this house. Maybe somebody complained about trespassing or something.
And they're going to a neighbor's house?
I saw 2 sheriffs roll in. I'm like, well, all right.
Looks like what JLR
Like
is saying, that 2 sheriff cars have come up to a neighbor's house.
From
I mean, I can't imagine living in this neighborhood with the media is literally lining the entire street. And looks like sheriffs just pulled into a neighbor's house. And the neighbors have been talking with the sheriffs. I mean, we've seen them talking. JLR investigates. He got there last night. He's the one who, it's funny, people in the news are obviously watching him as well because
nobody there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know you can hear. I'm getting a new setup, so I wasn't sure. So everybody had gone home last night. And there was, I mean, all the major media had gone home. JLR was still outside at Annie Guthrie's house. All the media had left for the night. And all of a sudden, unmarked trucks start showing up and going into Annie's driveway at her house. So that was it was very weird to see that. And JLR is, live streaming on YouTube, and all of a sudden all the media starts coming back. So obviously people were watching him because I think he was the only one there. And, I don't know. This is just such a weird case. And obviously the investigation needs to happen. It's not important for the media to know. It's just because of technology. We were just looking at the Lindbergh baby. There was no technology back then. They probably would have been able to solve that case, accurately. You can't do any crimes in this day and age. There's just no way you're going to get away with anything. I still predict that the day or 2 after when the FBI finally got involved, all they had to do was pull that cell tower and all the phones that were pinging off that cell tower at a certain period of time in the middle of the night. And they got the person. They knew who it was.
Should we go over here?
I'm going to post this MLK because, and this is what some people have said, you never know. I just thought of something. What if it is that a neighbor, they always say your neighbor could be your worst enemy. There have been a lot of people who have been on TV and said that it could be a neighbor.
So this is at the top of the hill.
Could be a neighbor.
So this is the cul-de-sac in front of
So
Nancy's house at the top of the hill, the far top home. 2 of them rolled in here.
usually they have to wait for a search warrant, and that's what had to happen last night. They had a search warrant. Maybe they have a search warrant. It's hard to say. But you're right. They have to get those little search warrants. And I don't know. It's just a crazy case. It looks like it could go in any direction. And either way, it's a horrible, horrible situation.
They were knocking on the door. No one answered.
We can watch this for a little bit more because this is really interesting. I want to see what happens. And JLR Investigates has told people to use his stream. He is happy to have people using his stream. So I would not do this I would never, ever do this, except that he had mentioned that people could use his stream. So right now, if you're just joining us, these are 2 sheriff vehicles that just pulled up to a neighbor of Nancy Guthrie, and looks like they were knocking at the door. I don't know if they went in. And this is something that is different because we haven't seen the sheriffs really interacting with the neighbors other than really just canvassing the neighborhood. But JLR also, when I just turned this on, I heard him say maybe the neighbor is complaining about all these people being in the street. I mean, it's hard to say. Trespassing. For sure. But apparently, Brian Enton has said that there are no plans for any press conferences today. I don't know if there are going to be any tomorrow, but there will be none today. Again, the sheriff of the county sheriff is catching some flack because he was seen at the basketball game, the college basketball game last night or yesterday afternoon, just like everything, was fine. There's work to be done. He should not have been at a basketball game. This is so high profile. Maybe he's been, he's bungled a lot of things. Maybe they have completely kicked him off the deal. It's hard to say. I think it's a really bad look.
That's why I said the blinds are moving.
MLK says no one answered the door. It's hard to say. I don't know. But I know that we're going to see a lot of footage coming from drones, and we'll probably get some drone footage later today. I think that there were a lot of media drones overhead. I just want to reiterate that when you live in a rural area in Phoenix and you're in the desert, it's very common to not be hooked up to city water and city gas. You have electricity, but that's pretty much it. You're kind of off the grid. So how homes are run, if you have gas, if you have a gas stove or you need gas for something, you'll put in a propane tank, and there's different size propane tanks. You don't have to have
This
like
is
the
the
big,
top of the hill.
the big
So
one.
if you take this cul-de-sac, you'll go right down. You can see Nancy's home. So 2 of them just arrived.
So if you need gas, you're going to put a propane tank and hook it up to your gas appliances or whatever. And you're going to bring gas in from a propane truck. Your septic tank is good for, it probably takes a year or 2 before you have to get that pumped. So the septic tank is connected through plumbing in the house, and you flush the toilet and it goes into the septic tank, and then it processes everything, and then it turns, there's different compartments in the septic tank. It turns it eventually into water, not potable water, but just water. And then you've got sprinklers in your backyard. They're going to go off to empty out that dark water from your septic system. So that's kind of it's a self-contained unit for your septic. But if she doesn't have any city water, she's going to need a big water tank that her house and plumbing is going to be plugged into. And these water tanks are pretty large. They're really large. And the manhole cover that somebody was ramming that stick down, that looked like a water tank. And, you have to have water trucks come out and fill your water tank. And so I didn't see anyone digging in the septic system. The tops of the septic system, I think, are going to be too small to put an adult down, but that manhole cover of the water tank definitely looked like it could be big enough to drop someone down. They had
Under a
cadaver
tree.
dogs from like Border Patrol, and I guess
That's
Border
so
Patrol
much, yeah.
has some of the best dogs. They can find people who are alive or unalive. And the dogs
Is
were
this a
out
trespassing
around
complaint?
Nancy Guthrie's home and apparently didn't find anything. And so I don't know what information they got that they
But if
came
it's a
back.
trespassing complaint, and you would think that the complaintee would be coming out talking to the sheriff saying what's going on.
So JLR is talking.
is-
The people are
why are they
wondering
here?
if it isn't a trespassing complaint from this neighbor. But like MLK, like you said, I mean, it could be a neighbor. It could be a neighbor who
Let me go over
was
here to
fighting with
shade.
Nancy.
I need to get some shade. First.
It's hard to say. I mean, these are people on acreage, so they're not on top of each other, but it's hard to say. 84-year-old lady, she didn't like someone's dogs barking, could be anything. Let's just watch this for a few minutes. While we're doing this, this is a new channel. I am
There's
going to
activity.
be
I'll move the camera.
I am going to be at
I
Crime
gotta give
Con.
them
I don't
shade.
know if anybody's going to be at Crime Con. I'm
Otherwise,
going to be
we
at
will-
Crime Con.
We will lose
New
our
channel.
stream.
Please subscribe. Please like. I need all the help I can with my algorithm.
All right, I'm in a good spot. We'll lose our stream.
I work in the news. I work in the media, but this is something that I'm doing on
Share
my
this video
own.
out. Boots on the ground. Something's going on.
Ooh.
Thank you. I just saw something pop up here by Drop Dead Unique. Thank you. And thank you, everyone else. I'm very, very grateful. If I can't not acknowledge each and everyone personally, I apologize for that. Chat is moving 1 billion miles an hour.
It's hard to say. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of speculation as to why these
Everybody
sheriff's
wants to see
trucks
what's
are at a
happening
neighbor.
here.
But right now, if you just joined, these are two Pima County sheriff trucks that just pulled in to a neighbor of Nancy Guthrie's. This is down the street from Nancy Guthrie's home. And this is the first time anyone has seen
I'm going to keep it just here.
sheriff vehicles at a neighbor. And there's only two. I can't imagine that there's anything. This probably is just a complaint.
It's interesting that sheriffs would arrive now to a neighbor's house. 2 of them.
Everybody is just, I mean, because this has gone back and forth of, really what happened, and people care. I know people care.
Let me, I'll get the map out and I can show you. Somebody blue.
Let me mute this. So I think that people are really watching this case because, and I don't even think it's so much Savannah Guthrie. Obviously she's the hook, people know who she is, and she, by all accounts, everybody says that she really is a really lovely person, a genuine, kind person. But I think the horror behind all of this is the fact that this is an 84-year-old woman in the middle of the night. I mean, it's horrific. It's terrifying. And to watch this play out, nobody knows, really what's happening. And again, like I said, the investigation needs to do the investigation. I mean, I feel bad for even sharing what Ashley Banfield was saying about the son-in-law, because it might be completely wrong. I feel very strongly that if the story, and it isn't Tommaso, if it isn't the son-in-law, Ashley Banfield has got some explaining to do, or she's been burned badly by her source, because Ashley Banfield has said that she's friends with Savannah Guthrie and they work together, for many years in the industry, court TV, etc. And, I understand that it's a business and everybody wants to get the scoop, because in news, it's the person who gets, the story, and that everyone wants to be first out with the story. But my gut is telling me that even whether it's right or not, Ashley Banfield on day 2 or 3 sharing that the prime suspect behind the scenes was the son-in-law really hurt this investigation. I really do, because again, when you're doing investigation, you want to keep people calm. You want people not fleeing. And this is a woman's life. What if day 2 or 3, it was Tommaso, and what if he had Nancy, and Nancy was, somewhere at a safe house or in a storage unit? What if she was alive? If Ashley Banfield is blowing this investigation out of turn, I mean, this is somebody's life that then could have been unalived just out of fear, or panic. And this is not a video game we're watching. This is not a movie. This is somebody's real life. And I have to think that, regardless of if Ashley Banfield is friends with Savannah Guthrie, that's not helping Savannah Guthrie and her mother. I really think that could have serious consequences. This is somebody's life. MLK is saying, sounds like they're wanting to talk to the person or persons in this home. Yeah. Let me put the sound on again. So if you're just joining us, this is JLR Investigates. He's out, he's live streaming. He's given other content creators permission to use his live stream, and I appreciate seeing what's going on right now. There are 2 Pima County Sheriff trucks that just pulled up quickly to a neighbor of Nancy Guthrie, and we're not exactly sure what they're doing. So I guess everyone's scrambling to try to figure out why they're talking to this neighbor, if it's a complaint. I don't know if you guys can hear. JLR is not talking, but just waiting to see if there's anything with
Somebody
this.
responded to me on X because I put this photo out and said 2 deputies arrived Nancy Guthrie's neighbor's home, and somebody said they're finally asking questions around the neighborhood. It's only been a week. Seriously, like only been a week now, right? If you're going in a manhole for the first time on the property a week later, what is going on here? Like, why would you even do that for the first time?
I mean, is this just them canvassing? I mean, if they're just now canvassing the neighborhood,
7 days late, right?
That's not good. I would have imagined that they'd already talked to the neighbors.
They're out there trying to find her, but I mean, there's a lot of things in here. People are like, should have been done.
Yeah, people are commenting that they feel like the Pima County, Pima County, it's a big county, okay, but they probably don't have high profile cases like this. And apparently the sheriff that we've been seeing in the press releases, apparently he's been a sheriff a couple times. It's an elected position, but he didn't get reelected after like a year and then got reelected. And so he doesn't have maybe a lot of experience, especially with a high profile case like this. So have they fumbled this? I mean, you can't go back. Once it's been fumbled, you can't go back. And they didn't hold the scene at Nancy Guthrie's house. It is odd to me that they're just now going into the water tanks and searching the water tanks. It is odd to me that they're doing that. Is this the first time they're canvassing these neighbors? I mean, I see cameras there on the left. I mean, if they're just now canvassing this neighborhood, are they looking for something? I don't know. This whole case is crazy. Let me turn the sound back on.
They're walking around. They're walking around the neighbor's property.
Well, they knocked on the door out front. Maybe they're walking around back to knock on the door in the back.
Wait for them to come out. Oh, there they are.
There they are.
There they are.
What are they doing?
There they are.
They're going even further back.
They're walking into the brush. Look. You're going down the hill. You're going down the hill.
Can you guys hear JLR? He's saying he's going down the hill. Can you let me know if you can hear him? I don't know how my sound is.
This is crazy, folks. Go back over here and see if I can find anything. So what it is we're on top of a hill. In order to get up here there's Nancy's house. There's Nancy's house right there. So it's eyesight.
Up a hill.
That is Nancy's home. And it's a big hill. So they're up here at the top of the hill, the furthest top home here. But on the other side, you can see another home that's on top of the hill. But in between, there's a valley. In between, there's like it's definitely, you definitely go down in between. So I'm wondering if they're going on the theory here that maybe she came up here and somebody dumped her, someone, in these like ravine type areas here. But this should have been searched day one.
If they're searching for a dog or a body, they would have dogs. I don't know what this is.
We're saying a wash.
If they were going to check septics or water, they'd have to have flashlights. They would have to have. I didn't see them with the pole, but this is odd. Nothing of this case makes any sense.
I see him visible. I see him.
And I think part of it is the fact that it's taken so long for certain things to be done. Hi, Bammy 4. Checking neighbor septics too, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. There's activity on and off. They're still doing things. They're still doing things around this neighborhood. And that's my thought, man. I think they're gonna go like eventually go to like door to door and rule, at least do a sweep. At one point, they said they were gonna do it, and I don't think they've done it.
So JLR is thinking that maybe they haven't done a sweep of the neighborhood. I mean, I don't know. I would think that if they're doing a sweep, they would have dogs. They would have a lot more people. They wouldn't have just two guys. This could be a complaint, but the guy,
are you good?
The homeowner didn't answer the door.
You too, Johnny.
Jonathan,
Hi.
I brought you water and an umbrella.
You got an umbrella? Oh my goodness.
Oh, someone just gave JLR water and an umbrella.
I'll take an umbrella and water.
The neighbors have been nice. I mean, he's interviewed.
Let me get you some water.
He's interviewed the neighbors, and
This is my
he interviews some neighbors over by Annie Guthrie's house. And again, last night, very late after all the media had left, JLR was out at Annie Guthrie's house, and unmarked sheriff trucks showed up. And they started doing an investigation inside Annie Guthrie's home. The lights were off, and there were camera flashes from the inside of the house and the garage. So we have to think that they were probably doing luminol because of the, needing it to be dark with fluorescence. Let's see what's going on. All right, what's he doing?
No. Is that who you're looking for?
Just going to remind again, don't trespass on people's property. Okay, it's already a major inconvenience for everybody in the area, and we don't want to make it. We don't want too many extra law enforcement actions.
He's telling them not to trespass.
So this was centered around a trespassing call complaint.
Something like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. It's a nothing burger. Somebody was complaining about trespassing, which I'm not surprised, but people have been all over this neighborhood. Okay. So this was nothing. This was a nothing burger. Everyone's like, oh, drama. Whoa. Okay. So again, because people don't have a lot of information, I think everybody's on the edge of their seat and they're grasping at straws, even though we're not supposed to have any information. It's just people want to know. And again, people care, this is an 84-year-old woman. You know, this is horrific. I just can't imagine. And I think everyone just wants a resolution and to know what happened, but I think that it's just so many mixed messages and, you know, is there a kidnapper? Is there not a kidnapper? Is this, you know, an inside job? Looks like it was an inside job. They're doing luminol testing, we believe, at Annie Guthrie's house last night. Does Annie know? Does she have any guilt knowledge of what was happening? If she doesn't, this is a double blow for Annie Guthrie because she's probably losing her mother or has lost her mother in a horrific way that nobody could ever imagine. And if it is her husband, she's been married to a monster. And I mean, imagine one day having your significant other do this to your mother. It's just bad. Bad, 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 bad. Okay, so this is where we're at right now. There's going to be drone footage. Again, like I mentioned, I think that the manhole cover is from a water tank. Again, I mentioned I've lived in Phoenix in the desert off-grid, and a septic system is going to have 3 green plastic lids that really are not big enough for a human body to be put into. I do think that they were checking the water tank. Again, if living in the desert like this, you're not on city water, you're not on city sewer, you're not on city gas. You're off grid. You're going to be trucking in water. You're going to have a huge tank of water. If your house is not on an aquifer and you can't use a well, you can't drill for a well. And a lot of homes in this, especially if they're, you know, this looks really outside Tucson. She's probably trucking in water from water trucks. She's probably trucking in propane from propane trucks. The septic system, you've got septic folks that come out every, 2 years or however long it is, and they will pump your septic system. It's self-contained. And again, the covers on a septic system they're just not. I've had 3 septic systems. I've lived rural outside Phoenix, north of Phoenix, and there really would be hard to get somebody down a septic lid, a septic opening, but the water tank did look big enough for somebody to put somebody in the water system. But it's hard to say. I don't know. Maybe they're just checking it. She may not be there. They had dogs earlier this week going around the neighborhood. Did they find anything in Nancy's car that they towed yesterday? They're doing forensics on her SUV right now. Did they find anything in Annie's car that they towed and entered into evidence last week? Did they find anything in the home last night? Savannah Guthrie, Annie, and the brother Cameron are not staying in Annie's home. They've moved somewhere, which is smart because the media presence is so, I mean, they wouldn't even be able to get groceries without people snapping pictures and trespassing, I'm sure. So they're off site right now. Hopefully we can get some resolution in the next few days. But as of right now, it looks like things are kind of calm again. We'll probably see some drone footage, but I don't think that there's anything to show. Seems like it's taking a long time for the Pima County sheriffs to do a lot of this stuff. I mean, you would have thought that they would have searched the water tank and the septic tank before today. So I don't know. We don't know what's behind the scenes. We don't know what is what they know behind the scenes. See, MLK. Thank you for your comments, you guys. I really enjoy seeing your comments. And Court TV said there's no street lights out in the area because it's a dark zone, so people can see the stars. Absolutely. Light pollution. You know, people live in this rural area for a reason. You know, they like living off grid. They like having room. If you've ever been to Phoenix or Tucson and you see pictures on TV, the houses are literally, and it's all subdivisions in town. It's just, they're 5 feet from the side of the house to usually a block wall. And then 5 feet from there is the next house. So you've got 10 feet between houses in these subdivisions. And I mean, 10 feet, you could touch your neighbor, reach out and touch someone. So people will come out to these rural areas and they will pay for inconvenience of having to truck in water, having to bring in propane, having to have their septic system pumped because it's beautiful and it's peaceful, but they have acreage. And, you know, with housing prices now, $500,000 house is a regular house in most of these cities, and you're paying $500,000 for no front yard, no backyard, and 10 feet between houses. Or you can go out and get acreage. You can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 acres and, you know, a home in this beautiful area for $500,000-$600,000, and that's what people are doing. You know, and they're willing to have some inconvenience of having to drive into the city to get their groceries. There's no DoorDash in these areas. There's no Instacart. So, you know, everything is a little bit more work, but the payoff is that it is rural. And it is beautiful. And, you know, we can hear coyotes barking. There's a lot of wildlife, a lot of animals. And here's the thing. This is the bad part of this whole thing. Let's say somebody did dispose of Nancy outside the property. By the time it took them 3 or 4 days to get to the property, it's very likely that the body was probably gone from just wildlife. And I'm just, you know, this is just how it is. I mean, there are people who you have to watch out for. If you have little dogs, there are big birds that literally will come and pick up your dog and take it away. Coyotes on these block walls I talked about. I mean, it's very common. You see coyotes walking on these block walls and people's in the city. They're walking on block walls in between homes, you know. They come in, they're hungry. So there's Brian Etten. Look, Brian Etten. There he is. And there he goes. So, all right, you guys. Well, I'm not seeing anything really happening right now. So I am going to just come back probably live tomorrow. These were my thoughts today. I am going to be going live every day, but if anything really big happens, I will go live sooner. But I really appreciate everybody's support. I appreciate everybody's comments. Please subscribe, please comment, please like, please share. Again, I will be at CrimeCon. I don't know if anybody is planning on going to CrimeCon. Let me know in the comments if you are. And I hope everybody has a great day. And let's all pray for Nancy. And let's pray for some resolution for this family. So thank you so much. We'll see you again.